Welcome back, everyone. This is Mr. Spinks, and we are on the second video of 3-1. So here we go. The stuff, again, very, very basic and easy, guys, but you got to pay attention because it's different than what you've seen before. So we're going to start by talking about and statements here. Now, if I can get it, there we go. When we're talking about an and statement, we need to know the name for it. So a conjunction, whoop, T-I-O-N, there we go, is symbolized by, and in a second I'll get you that symbol, but more importantly, it is read as and. We're talking about how to put things into symbols at this point in time. Now the symbol that you're going to utilize is kind of like a triangle that you're looking at, or an arrow upside down, a tent. I don't know how you want to look at that, but that's essentially what we're talking about with the conjunction, or being read and. So we're really going to get into now how to write stuff symbolically. It's really easy, guys, okay? You identify each part of it and then fill in the blank with what you've got. So here's what I see. I see this part right here. I see this part right here. And I look above and I say, okay, it says the dog is gray. Well, P represents the dog is gray. So where the dog is gray is written, I write a P. Next up, it says but. Well, if you think about it, the word and is the same as the words but. If I said the dog is gray and the dog is not old, it's the same thing as saying the dog is gray but the dog is not old. So this word but here is going to be replaced with the symbol for and, or the conjunction symbol, which is the upside down tent. You got, or a regular tent, whatever. It's anyway, it's the end looking thing. Finally, the dog is not old. Well, Q is the dog is old. How do we say the dog is not old? We use negation of Q. Whoop, negation of Q. In order to make that happen. My writing is terrible at this point in time, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. There's a P, a conjunction, a negation, and a Q is how we do that symbolically. It's pretty simple stuff, and we'll be writing out a lot of things symbolically, so you'll get the feel for that. So we just had an and statement. Now we're going to talk about an or statement. Well, if an and statement is a conjunction, an or statement is a disjunction. So here we go, a disjunction. Whoop, got to spell, T-I-O-N, there we go. Disjunction. Whoo, spelling's fun. Is symbolized. In a second, I'll get you that symbol. And is read as or. All right, so the kind of ideas of opposites. Okay, you got and or here. The and is the conjunction. The or is the disjunction. The and is the kind of the tent or the N looking thing, and the or is going to be kind of the reverse of that. It's kind of like a V that you're going to have. There's the or symbol. Let me make it bigger. Big V. There's the or symbol that we've got going on right there. So let's talk about how to utilize that. We're going to write it in symbolic forms. Here we go. Here's what I see. I see Carl will not go to the movies. That's one of the statements. There's an or in there, so I'm going to use that guy for the or. And then we got Carl will not go to the baseball game. All right, so let's write that out. Let's see how that works here, okay? How are we going to pull this off? Well, we're going to start with Carl will not go to the movies. Now, if P is Carl will go to the movies, Carl will not go to the movies is done with negation. That's a better negation of P. Next up is the or. So here's my disjunction going on right there. And then the Q is Carl will go to the baseball game. Well, we have Carl will not go to the baseball game. That's a reverse. That's a negation. So rather than writing Q, I will write the negation of Q. Pretty easy stuff. All right, now this one's a tougher one here, okay? So make sure you're paying attention to the example I utilize here. How are commas used to group statements? All right, so talking about it, where commas exist in normal writing, we insert parentheses in symbolic nature. Here's the important part. around the compound side of the statement. And that's a little confusing, so I'm going to use the next couple of examples to explain this to you. Make sure you're paying attention here. This can get very, very confusing, okay? Here we go. So we're starting off here now. Now it says, Matt likes to run or swim and lift weights. Here's the important part that you're looking at, guys. As you look at it, you're noticing here that the actual comma goes on the side of two different things. Now on the right hand side, and lift weights, that is a simple statement. That's just one thing. Whereas on this side, that's two things. He likes to run or swim, which means the parentheses, when we do it symbolically, are going to go around this side, the left hand side, because that's the compound side, or the side that has multiple statements. So when we write it out, we're just going to write it out just like normal, okay? But we're going to insert parentheses around the compound side. So it says Matt likes to run or swim. All right. Well, P is that Matt likes to run, or, well, that's the disjunction. Matt likes to swim is Q. And we will insert parentheses around those because that's the compound side on that side of the comma. We'll finish it and lift weights. And is the conjunction, and Matt will lift weights is R. And that's how we would write that out symbolically. Let me fix my R. Be a little nicer, hopefully. Okay? Watch the one beneath it. It's kind of like the same statement, but you're going to see the parentheses change. Because in this bottom one, it says Matt likes to run, and here's the comma, or swim and lift weights. Well, the compound side is over here. And therefore, we're going to put parentheses around this side of the comma this time. That's kind of how it changes. So it's going to start the same way. Matt likes to run. Well, that's P. Or, but this time when we write swim and lift weights, we are going to put the parentheses around the swim and lift weights part, because that's the compound part. So that's kind of how we use parentheses to incorporate where commas are utilized in regular language. That's where we put them in symbolic. All right, last part of this piece is the if-then statements. So when we talk about the if-then statements, they are known as the conditional. So the conditional is symbolized. In a second, I'll get you that symbol. And is read if then. The actual symbol that we use for conditional is kind of like an arrow. It's pretty much what it looks like. It goes left to right. It's just a basic arrow that we will use for the conditional. It's kind of the idea. Let's talk about our last example for this video. It involves Nathan in the park and swimming. It says, if Nathan goes to the park, then he will swim. Well, Nathan goes to the park as P. He will swing as Q. And we see an if-then involved in this statement. Ladies and gentlemen, the if-then is the conditional. It is the arrow, and the arrow goes in between the P and the Q. So P, arrow, Q is how we actually write out, if Nathan goes to the park, then he will swing. Pretty easy stuff. Just got to kind of follow. Let's keep it going and see how we do. If Nathan does not go to the park, then he will not swing. Well, if Nathan goes to the park is P. So if Nathan does not go to the park, that's negation of P. We've also got he will not swing. Well, he will swing is Q, so he will not swing is negation of Q. And the if-then, once again, is utilized by the conditional, an arrow inserted in between the two operating symbols. That's how that one would go. The last one is very, very tough, so I want you to take a look at this for a second and see if you can figure out. It says, it is false that if Nathan goes to the park, then he will not swing. This is the part that's going to mess with you. So I'm going to do this part last, okay? I'm going to ignore that here, and I'm just going to go, if Nathan goes to the park, then he will not swing. Well, if Nathan goes to the park, he will not swing is done by P, Nathan goes to the park, not swinging is negation of Q, oops, and if then is that symbol. That's how we would say if Nathan goes to the park, he will not swing. The way we put this it is false at the beginning of it, it's a negation, it's a reverse, but it's a reverse of the whole thing. So we surround the entire thing by parentheses and do a negation. Just another example of one of those additional operating symbols we will use. Be careful on this one right here, though. Whoa, let's mess it up. It is false. That's what I do. I write out the rest of the statement and then just surround that statement with parentheses and put a negation in front. This is our second video.